What if they give us equations, right? They are giving us two equations and they're asking you, are these two lines parallel or perpendicular, right? So this is, let me call this equation 1 and this is equation 2. And they want us to find out, are those two lines parallel or perpendicular? All right, the best way, the first thing we need to do is write the equation in the slope-intercept format, which is y is equal to mx plus c. So c here is the y-intercept, if you remember my previous video about this. So if the equation is in this format, m will be the slope, right? So let's look at, if the equation in that format, I can tell the slope really by just looking at the value of m, which is the coefficient of x, right? So here, equation 1, what's the value of m? So y is equal to 7x plus 2. That is equation 1. If I compare it to y is equal to mx plus c, m in the first equation is 7. Let me call it m1. If I look at my equation, y is equal to 7x minus 1. If I compare it to y is equal to mx plus c, m in this equation, let me call it m2, which is the slope, which is the gradient of that line, is still 7. You see how m1 and m2 are both 7? So which two lines have the same slope or gradient? Parallel lines. So these two lines are actually parallel, and parallel lines never meet really. So these two lines are parallel. They have the same slope. Now let's look at this example. Ask yourself the first question should be, is the equation of the line given in y is equal to mx plus c? Is y the subject? If y is the subject, then you can easily tell the slope. For example, if this is line 1 and this is line 2, what's the slope of line 1? M in line 1, let me call it mi, is 4 out of 5. What about in this equation? The coefficient of x is negative 5 out of 4. All right, these slopes the same? No. So meaning they're not parallel. Now we just need to find out, are they perpendicular? Because we're sure for a fact they are non-parallel. Are they perpendicular though? So looking at this 4 out of 5, what is the negative reciprocal? To get the negative reciprocal, guys, remember, we just flip the fraction and change the sign. If this is 4 out of 5, this will be 5 out of 4. So this will be the slope of the line perpendicular to this. Is it the same as this? The same? Yes. So these two lines are actually perpendicular. Another way you can tell if two lines are perpendicular, if you multiply their slopes, they have to give you -1. Let's try. If I multiply 4 out of 5 times -5 out of 4, it's going to give me -1. So yeah, these two lines are actually perpendicular, while these ones were parallel. So they're giving us these two lines, this one and this one. The first question you ask yourself, is the line in the form y is equal to mx plus c? Is y the subject of that line? If the answer is no, then you can't really tell, the gradient of that line unless you first change it in that format. So let me call this line 1 and call this line 2. Line 2 is good to go. Line 2 is in the format of y is equal to mx plus c. Line 1, on the other hand, is not. So from line 1, we're having 5x minus y is equal to 4. All right, so I want to make y the subject of this equation. So this side I'm left with y being equal to, so 5x minus 4 is equal to y. So this is the same as y is equal to 5x minus. So same thing. All right, now it's in the form of mx plus c. So what's the slope of line 1? The slope of line 1 is 5. So the slope of line 2 is -1 out of 5. Are they perpendicular? If I multiply these two slopes, do I get -1? So 5 times 1 over 5 negative. I'll get -5 out of 5, which will give me a -1. So yeah, these two lines are perpendicular. Why? Because if you multiply the slopes, you get -1. Or another reasoning would be one slope is the negative reciprocal of the other. So if I take, for example, -1 out of 5, what's the negative reciprocal of this? All you have to do is flip the fraction. It will be 5 out of 1 and flip the sign, be a positive, which is exactly this. Right? Okay, so these two lines are perpendicular lines. Let's look at the last example. They're giving us two lines. Both of them are not in the format y is equal to mx plus b. So let's first convert them in that format. Make y the subject. So we have 3x minus y is equal to 2. Y is equal to 3x minus 2. What is the slope of this line? The slope of this line is m, which is the coefficient of x. So m1 is equal to 3. The slope of that line is actually 3. Let's look at this other line they're giving us, which is 2x minus 4y is equal to 4. Now, guys, in this equation, I took y the other side of the equation because I want it to be positive, right? Every time they give you a negative y, it's easier to move the y than moving the x's and then changing it into a positive. That's a lot of work. So you always have to look at which route will give you the answer a few steps. I mean, I could choose to move the x the other side of the equation, but that will give me so many steps. So let me choose to move my y. Since it's already a negative, I want it to be a positive. So moving it the other side will make it a positive, right? So 4y here is negative, crosses equal signs becomes a positive. So this is 12x. I want to bring 4 the other side of the equation. It will become a negative. So 12x minus 4 is equal to 4y. But I want y as the subject. I don't want 4y. I want y. So I'll divide everything by 4. So 3x minus 1 is equal to y, which is the same as y is equal to 3x minus 1. And the slope there was 3. The slope here is 3. Which two lines have the same slopes? Parallel lines. So these two lines are parallel. Parallel lines have the same slopes. All right. Thank you guys for watching.